Engaging the Modern Skeptic, a case study in academic apologetics. Today we explore a real-world case study in engaging modern skepticism through academic apologetics. This draws from a thoughtful exchange that highlights effective ways to address historical and philosophical challenges to the Christian faith. Abstract contemporary digital discourse often reduces faith, philosophy, and history to arenas for short, heated exchanges. Online skepticism frequently relies on radical postmodern relativism or rigid methodological naturalism, collapsing centuries of careful inquiry into brief polemical claims. For clarity, a few key terms. Critical realism, used in historical study, recognizes our limits in knowing the past while affirming that disciplined inquiry allows for responsible conclusions. The minimal facts approach builds arguments on data points that enjoy near-universal agreement among scholars. Promise plan theology, as developed by Walter C. Kaiser Jr., traces the progressive organic unfolding of God's single redemptive purpose through the entire biblical canon, integrating history, ethics, and future hope into one coherent story. This essay examines a conversation with the skeptic known as Cygnus Sustis. Using critical realism, the minimal facts method, and promise plan theology, we address Jesus' mythicism and moral emotivism. A robust biblical theology, rooted in the ancient Hebraic worldview and the organic unity of Scripture, emerges as the most coherent framework, both philosophically and historically, for engaging secular skepticism. Section 1. The Epistemological Divide and the Historical Void. To engage a modern skeptic effectively, we must first understand their underlying assumptions. In this case, the interlocutor Cygnus promoted radical historical skepticism, often called Jesus mythicism. He claimed there is no contemporary Roman or Jewish evidence for Jesus, and dismissed the Gospels as later myths and fabrications. Such views echo the Enlightenment crisis of biblical authority, where historical investigation swings between demanding absolute proof and falling into postmodern despair. Critical realism offers a better approach. It acknowledges the real limits of historical knowledge while holding that carefully evaluated evidence can yield reliable understanding of past events. Establishing common ground and methodical neutrality. Good engagement starts with empathy and cultural awareness. The response began by appreciating shared interests, such as Karl Orff's Carmina Burana. This built methodical neutrality, showing that the Christian apologist evaluates ideas using standard historical tools, not blind dogma. Dismantling mythicism via academic consensus. Cygnus suggested historians view the Crucifixion as only plausible. This misrepresents the broad scholarly agreement. The crucifixion of Jesus of Nazareth under Pontius Pilate is accepted as historical fact by liberal, moderate, conservative, secular, and even atheist scholars alike. Bart Ehrman has said, quote, "The most certain element of the tradition about Jesus is that he was crucified on the orders of the Roman prefect of Judea, Pontius Pilate." John Dominic Crossan agrees that he was crucified is as sure as anything historical can ever be. More extreme mythicist ideas, like those of Richard Carrier, stay on the fringes because they fail standard historical tests for explanatory power. Helpful tools include early creedal formulas. Paul records an early Christian creed in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 3 through 8. James Dunn dates its formulation to within months of Jesus' death. Legends take generations to form. This early testimony strongly challenges the myth and legend theory, extra-biblical corroboration. First-century non-Christian sources, including Tacitus and Josephus, mention Jesus and his crucifixion under Pilate, the criterion of embarrassment. The Gospels name women as the main witnesses to the empty tomb. In a patriarchal culture, this detail is unlikely to be invented. The historical bedrock approach. The minimal facts, or historical bedrock, method focuses only on data almost all scholars accept: Jesus' death by crucifixion, the disciples' sincere belief in postmortem appearances, Paul's conversion, and James's conversion. Naturalistic explanations struggle to account for this evidence as well as the resurrection hypothesis does. While critics note risks of oversimplification when used carefully with broader biblical and historical context, it remains a strong tool for responsible inquiry. Section 2. The Mirage of Moral Absolutism. After the historical discussion, Cygnus turned to philosophy, stating, "Objective truth is real, objective morality is not. Even religious morality is subjective, in the most dangerous way." This reflects the Enlightenment fact-value divide, sharply analyzed by Alasdair MacIntyre in his book After Virtue. Without a shared transcendent purpose, moral talk becomes emotivism, mere expressions of personal feeling instead of reasoned judgment. Ironically, calling religious morality dangerous appeals to an objective standard that his own relativism cannot support. While some secular thinkers try grounding ethics in natural law or virtue, these often lack a solid foundation for human purpose and duty. Walter C. Kaiser Jr.'s Promise Plan theology offers the needed framework. Within Scripture's organic unity, moral obligations are neither arbitrary rules nor subjective preferences. They flow from the Creator's design, humanity made as royal priestly image-bearers within the cosmic temple. In the Hebraic worldview and divine council perspective, ethics participates in restoring sacred space broken by cosmic rebellions. This addresses today's concerns: justice, human dignity, racial reconciliation, care for the vulnerable, and stewardship of creation as part of God's unfolding redemptive story, culminating in the new heavens and new earth under a restored royal priesthood. Section 3. Implications for Promise Plan Apologetics. This case shows how Promise Plan theology weaves historical and moral reasoning into one unified biblical trajectory. By recovering cosmic temple imagery, royal priestly calling, and progressive revelation, apologetics moves beyond mere defense to a positive theological vision. The resurrection not only confirms Jesus' claims but reshapes human identity and ethics within God's single redemptive plan. It honors the concrete promises to ethnic Israel while graciously including the nations in the one people of God, as in Romans chapter 11, staying faithful to the full biblical narrative. Conclusion: the power of truth-seeking apologetics. The exchange with Cygnus Sustis offers a model for addressing digital skepticism. Through cultural common ground, rigorous history, and promise plan theology, the skeptic's foundation was challenged. The later deletion of comments, though just one example, hints at the fragility of views lacking strong historical and metaphysical support. These strategies, adapted thoughtfully, apply widely across cultures and conversations. Truth, anchored in the verifiable historical bedrock of the resurrection and the organic structure of Scripture, stands as objective reality. Promise Plan Apologetics equips believers to join faithfully in the cosmic temple project, witnessing to the one who heals the fractures of rebellion and restores humanity's royal priestly vocation.